What's going on, guys? Kayla Nicole here, and welcome back to another episode of the pregame.
Okay, now, ladies.
Welcome to the pregame.
Today is going to be a solo episode, y'all. I think, honestly, the theme of this episode could just be like the power of the pivot. We're having to pivot today. I had a guest planned. Unfortunately, she had a family emergency. So now it's just me, myself, and I. And well, you as well. You're joining the party. But I'm excited to have you guys here with me today. Always a very special show prepared for you. For our first quarter catch up and yap. Well, first things first. Of course, I have a beverage. I'm not going to lie, you guys. This is not my favorite beverage. Probably because it came out of a glass bottle with a twist tap. A glass bottle with a twist cap. Yeah. It's some sort of sparkling sweet red wine. Tastes like a Kool-Aid jammer with bubbles. Did you guys drink Kool-Aid jammers? Am I showing my age? Kool-Aid used to make juice packs. And that's what this tastes like. Not my favorite, but we're drinking it, okay? We've got a little libations going. But yeah, let's catch up a bit. I think that I've been kind of like MIA on socials these days, which I don't know if it's rare anymore for me. I go through these lulls where I just don't want to talk anymore. Might have to do with this podcast. I don't know. Having to talk at length makes you want to shut up a little bit throughout the week. But my friend posted the other day, she has a podcast as well. She was like, if you want to see me yap, go turn on the pod, which I couldn't agree more. So happy to yap with you guys today. Quick life update, because I see a lot of comments and DMs and questions from the girlies asking, what happened to I Am Athlete? If you guys didn't know, I was co-hosting a show with I Am Athlete and Revolt. At the top of this year, it was a sports talk show. It was super exciting and fun for me because I was back in the hosting chair doing what I love on a weekly basis. I was getting to do some storytelling, and we were interviewing athletes and artists. And it was super fulfilling, and I was really excited to, be at this place in my career. But if you also follow me, you've noticed that I haven't been there for the past month or two. I don't really know what I can or can't say. I didn't really talk to my manager or my lawyer about this, but we're going to share a little bit because it's my podcast and I do what I want. But basically, things have been put on pause because there's some internal agreements that need to be made. I think there's some sort of like contractual negotiations that are happening between I Am Athlete and Revolt. So things have been put on pause. But for me personally, I can talk about what that means, and also leaning into the idea of just the power of the pivot. You guys know that obviously I went to school for journalism. Hosting has been a passion of mine for years and years and years. And I laugh sometimes because it's like if I were to go the super traditional route and like say I go to, ABC and I submit my resume, there's going to be this huge gap in it, right? Like there was a time where I went from hosting very regularly when I was hosting for, the Lakers, and I was working with platforms like Ball is Life, and I was really doing it consistently. And then COVID happened, life happened, and I became like a full-time influencer. And so there was this big gap in my hosting resume. So I was happy to be at a point in my career where I was like, okay, I'm hosting consistently again. You know what I mean? I'm on camera consistently. And granted, the podcast hadn't even launched yet. So I was really, really excited for the opportunity. Still am. But something that I've learned this year is, really leaning into the power of the pivot. And when one door closes, just having to have full faith and belief that another one will open. So ironically, when we stopped filming I Am Athlete, the podcast launched. And it was like, oh, wow, imagine that. Look, I have so much more free time now to film my podcast, which does that suck for me? Yes. But it was also, a blessing in disguise. I was traveling back and forth to Fort Lauderdale once a week to film, which, as you can imagine, that is very taxing mentally, emotionally, financially for the brand that had to pay for my flights back and forth. But I was making it work, and it was a sacrifice that I was definitely willing to do if that meant that I could be, in the position to just host and sit down across from people that were, like-minded, that enjoyed doing the same things that I got to do. And then also it was an opportunity for me to continue storytelling and really like just tapping in with others and engaging with athletes and artists that I admire. So I loved the opportunity. It sucks that it's not currently on the table, but hopefully, things will work out over time. But I love that you guys have noticed that I'm not doing that anymore, which means that ultimately that you guys also liked, the product that we were putting together over at I Am Athlete. So hopefully it works out in the near future. We will see. Stay tuned, TBD. But yeah, we'll see. I think also, ironically, just in terms of like learning to pivot, but also like being okay when you're told no. I think in this industry, that's something that you're just like taught early on, is that, there's going to be a million no's, and every no, you're just getting one step closer to your yes. And so like in a lot of ways in my career, like there have been some really great yeses, right? Like I've had some really great opportunities, even on, the influencing, content creator side of things. I've had a really cool career. Most recently, my most recent no to share with you guys, because I feel like people share the yeses a lot, but we don't really share the nos. I auditioned for a co-hosting position for this show called 106 and Sport. They actually just announced this new show during the BET Awards this past weekend. It's a spinoff of what used to be 106 and Park, if you guys are old enough to know what that is. It was a show that came on BET. It was literally a daily show. I think it maybe aired at was it 4 p.m.? Because you would rush home from school to go and watch 106 and Park so that you could see the top 10 videos from the week. So now they're doing 106 and Sport, which will be essentially like the top 10 moments in sports from that week. So I was so excited about this opportunity. I got to audition with some really dope people. We did a chemistry read. And for those who aren't familiar, a chemistry read essentially is you go into an audition space. There's cameras, kind of like what we have in this podcast room here today. There's a couple cameras. There's some producers in there. And you will chemistry read, or essentially audition with people that are also auditioning for the same position as you. So I did a chemistry read with Cam Newton, who is actually going to be the host of the show. I did a chemistry read with, I believe her name is Ashley, who is the co-host who got the job for the show. Speedy was there from Complex. Roxy Diaz, who was like infamous in the hosting space and entertainment. And it went really well. I thought for sure, especially after a little, birdie in my ear, people that were a part of the audition, they were like, you were one of our favorites. I just knew that I was going to get this job. But that's not even the funniest part. I also had to audition, drum roll please. Oh yes, I love this audition, the drum roll. I had to audition with my ex-boyfriend. Gagged. So imagine what my reaction is when I walk into the room and in comes my ex, Iman Shumpert. And y'all know, I'm not bringing this up because I love talking about my ex-boyfriends. I'm bringing this up because I want you guys to know how much of a professional I am, okay? Have you had to, go to work with your ex-boyfriend? I don't think so. This is rare. This is some real Hollywood nonsense. Truly only something that would happen to me. But obviously, Iman and I dated years and years and years ago. I was fresh out of college, so it was probably like 2014. But the irony of this all is that, and we talked about this during our audition actually, is that the ironic part is like, it was such a full circle moment, because when I graduated college, obviously this is exactly what I wanted to be doing. I had just moved to New York with him, and like, I had nothing. I had no job, but I had a dream and a hope that I was going to make it big in the big city. And so to be in an audition room with him doing what I, hoped to be doing years ago and was actually still, trying to be doing now, I don't know. I thought that was pretty cool. And the audition went so well. I think that we had great on-camera chemistry. The producer was even asking questions that I thought were like, a little awkward to be asking. Like things like, what did she say? She's like, oh, so you guys know each other? And we're both like, yeah, we go way back. And she's like, well, tell me more about that. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, for sure, girl. She's like, no, tell me more. Like, tell me about, when you guys first met. And I'm like, well, like that feels like ages ago, lifetimes ago. It was 2014. And she's like, well, what's your memory of one another? And I'm like, to be honest, all that I remember is like, yeah, Iman was a basketball player. He was playing for the Knicks at the time, always super fashionable, really funny guy. I'm giving a full Indeed description of this man at this point. Like, his birthday's in July. I think he's a Cancer. Like, I don't know. How do you describe an ex in a work environment like that? But I kept it cute. I gave my little synopsis and she's like, well, Iman, tell us about Kayla. I just thought this was so cute and so sweet. He was like, one thing that stands out in my memory about Kayla is that she always wore Chucks and a flannel, which is so very true. I don't know if this is an Inland Empire girly thing, but in 2014, I had every color of Chuck Taylors ever. And you would not see me without a flannel tied around my waist. That was like my signature look. I can pull up photo after photo after photo of me wearing that damn outfit, okay? I wore a flannel and the Chuck Taylors to the ground. But my favorite part, he's like, the one thing that stood out most about Kayla was the way that she looked at the city, the way that her eyes lit up. It was like this innocence about her. I'm gagged. I think my mouth literally dropped open. Because in that moment, I just think it's refreshing, honestly, to still be able to have a cordial relationship with someone that you have a history with, and to be able to be professional enough to not only talk about, who we were in the past, who we are now, but then to also be able to fulfill our job and our duty, which was to be professionals, get that audition done. And I think we did a great job. Did we get the job in the end? No, but I just thought that it was really cool. A really cool experience with an ex. And also would only happen to me. I don't know anybody else out here auditioning with their ex. Truly. Can't make this stuff up. But again, power of the pivot, right? Pivoted right into that one and pivoted right on out. Like, okay, great to see you. See you later. Bye. But that's just a little quick life update. A little catch up and yap for our first quarter. There's enough wow factor in there for y'all to chew on for the rest of the week, huh? You see, I share things over here on the pod. I'm not sharing things over on my Instagram anymore. I've become quite the recluse on social media. But over here on the pregame, I'm happy to yap with you guys. But let's jump into our second quarter in the mix, where we discuss a couple trending topics that are going on in the media. First up, Doja Cat is called out for a fan interaction that left her feeling uncomfortable. And to be honest, it left me feeling a little uncomfortable too. So if you haven't seen what's been going on, a very excited TikToker, I believe his name is Pablo Tamayo. He's an influencer with over 400,000 followers on TikTok. He has quite the social media presence, but he basically ran into Doja outside of a club or a party late one night, and they have this exchange. And at first sight, it seems like, a fan engaging with a celebrity. He's excited to see her. He's, telling her how much he loves her, really just like doting over her, and then proceeds to take off the shirt from his back and gives it to her. Now, Doja in this interaction in this video seems totally comfortable, right? Like she's engaging with him. She takes the shirt. She gives him a hug. They proceed to like jump around and kind of like, kiddishly, cheer about it. And then that's the end of it. The video goes viral. Then Doja later takes to Twitter and explains her view of things. Now, if you know Doja Cat, she does not hold her tongue ever. And she doesn't care if you're a fan, not a fan, somebody's mama. It really doesn't matter. And this is to be honest, and I agreed with the girl. So Doja went to Twitter after she saw the video going viral. And it's important to note too, that in the video, you can see him take off his shirt. He gives her a hug. And then I believe he kisses her on the cheek. When I saw the video, I'm not gonna lie, I thought like, wow, this is Doja's being really friendly. Like this is new. This is new of her. You go on Twitter, Doja tweets, bottom line is, I'll smile at you, but it doesn't mean I fuck with you. And don't touch me and manhandle me when you don't even fucking know me. If you know, you know. I honestly think I need to stand up for myself in the moment sometimes. And he didn't even know my fucking name to be touching me and kissing me on my face like that. That is crazy. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Someone in the comments says, well, it looked like you enjoyed the interaction. She then had to respond again and defend herself. I was really drunk. I don't know what to tell you. She follows up by saying, a fan says basically like you could hear her in the video saying, oh, you smell good. She responds again, he did, but I don't like how comfortable he was touching me and kissing me without asking for permission. And to that, I completely agree. I think this is a lesson on consent, and not to be dramatic. This is a public figure. She is a celebrity. It does seem like she's inviting this interaction by standing there. But to be honest, I didn't see any security nearby. And you never really know what a woman is feeling. Like there have been so many times where I've just gone with the flow, but I probably felt really unprotected and really unsafe. And in those moments, you feel like, oh my God, if I were to tell him to stop right now, or if I cause a scene, you don't know how this man is going to react. So out of fear, a lot of times, women will just go with the flow. I remember a time I was at a party, and obviously I'm not a celebrity like Doja Cat. Public figure, sure. Celebrity, no. But people will come up to me, saying that they follow me online. Maybe they listen to the podcast. Maybe they watched me on Special Forces. And, we'll have a fun, kind, honest interaction. But people do tend to cross that boundary, especially when liquor is involved, of personal space and lacking consent. And I know this is, when people hear consent, immediately you think of like some sort of like sexual experience, but no, consent is consent. And I'm a human who has boundaries as well. So I'm going to tell you this really quick story. I was at a party, everyday people here in LA. I'm on the dance floor with my friends. The sun has set. We're having a great time. We're vibing. We're drinking. We're doing a little shrooms. We're having a great time, okay? And I'm on the dance floor and someone grabs me by the arm. Now, this could be one of a million things, right? It could be someone that I know. It could be someone asking me for a dance. It could be someone assaulting me by grabbing me by the... It could be a million and one things, right? So someone grabs me by the arm. It gets my attention. I turn around. It's a young lady whom I didn't recognize. She waves at me and I wave back and I turn back around and continue dancing with my friends. So, nothing too alarming. I get on Instagram the next day though, and she DMs me and says, hey, I saw you yesterday, Everyday People, and I'm just really offended by how you acted. I was just trying to say hello. We've met before. And I think that was so rude of you. Now, did I remember meeting this young lady in my life? Absolutely not. I'm really bad at that, to be completely honest. But I didn't remember meeting her. But immediately I'm like, you know what? I have no problem apologizing. My intent is to never be rude or disrespectful to you. However, and I explained this to her, please put yourself in my shoes. I'm having a good time. I'm a little faded. And I feel someone grab me by the arm in the middle of the dance floor. You don't know what I was going through mentally and emotionally that day. You don't know what I've been through that week, that month, in my lifetime, to be honest. You've met me one other time. You don't even know my story for real. Do not come up to anybody and just touch them. I think we have to start, that's a new standard that we all need to create. Asking for consent. When I meet people and I want to give them a hug because they're so sweet and kind, you know what I say to them? Do you mind if I give you a hug? Can I hug you? I'm a hugger. It's so nice to meet you, but thank you so much for this. Can I hug you? I'm asking you for consent and you're coming up to me. I would like that same respect to be returned to me. And I think Doja is saying the same exact thing. I don't care how friendly I look, how happy I was in that video. You kissing me in my face is, first of all, it's disgusting. But also, let's draw the line somewhere, not just with celebrities, but just with human beings in general. The sense of like entitlement to people's personal space is really ridiculous. We're living in weird times. And it does absolutely nothing for you to just ask. Can I shake your hand? Can I hug you? Can I give you a kiss? And if you want to get somebody's attention on the dance floor, I'm going to hit you with this, which is a little 2-finger shoulder tap. That's very, respectable. Grabbing somebody by the arm is nuts. So I just think, Doja, you're getting a lot of shit right now on the internet. I get it. I don't think she cares. She honestly probably doesn't give two shits, to be honest. It's Doja Cat. But I feel you, girl, because people will read you the wrong way and then try to run your name through the mud. But I'm standing with her. Learn some boundaries and learn this lesson on consent. Ask before you touch. Thank you so much. Our next topic on the agenda is a little dating app conversation. It's been no secret, guys, that I'm on the dating apps. And by apps, I mean just one app, Raya. Honestly, the amount of times that I brought up Raya, you'd think that I'm trying to get a Raya promo. Raya, are you selling ads? We'll take you. The thing that's so funny about Raya too, it's like this secret society. You're like not supposed to talk about it. And then here I am, every opportunity that I get, I'm like, yeah, so let me tell you about this stupid dating app, Raya, that I'm on. I actually, ironically, met the owner of the app and I told him to his face, hey, I'm really not a fan. We got to switch it up a bit. Did he listen? No. And to be honest, I'm still on it. Let me start with what I don't like. What I don't like is that it just feels a little bit elitist. Like in order to get on Raya, you have to be approved and it's a referral basis, right? You can't just like go and sign up for the app. Someone has to refer you. And then once you get that referral, then supposedly they let you into the app. Or I guess you can just apply and based off of, I don't know, your social media following, they'll let you in, or your LinkedIn profile, they'll let you in. But it's basically, if you get on the app, I'm not kidding, a bunch of rich, either Caucasian, no, let's just stop there. Rich white men or athletes. If you're not rich and white, you're an athlete. And I just, like, if that's what I wanted, I would just stay on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, what's so special about this? I can't stand it. But this is why this trending topic is so interesting to me, because it's like, this is what intrigues me about the app. I'll tell you about one person that I found on Raya that I was like, I'm intrigued by you. And it's because he reverse catfished me. So our trending topic this week is people are reverse catfishing on dating apps. And immediately when I saw this headline, I said, that resonates with, I don't even know what I'm trying to catch on my Raya app. I should read to you guys, actually. Let's read what my bio is. My bio on Raya right now is media personality and astronaut. Just so we're clear. Is there do I go to space? Absolutely not. I mean, occasionally, when to spark the blunt. You know what I'm saying? Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I do go to space, but I'm not an astronaut. I'm reverse catfishing on Raya. Okay, anyway, so the headline is this. People are reverse catfishing on dating apps. Obviously, we've all heard of the term catfishing, but, well, essentially, catfishing is when you present a false identity and you try to lie and pretend that it's you. Usually to attract, someone of romantic interest. However, some daters are now reverse catfishing to find more authentic connections. This will involve using unflattering photos, maybe downplaying the more superficial parts of yourself in order to find a genuine connection. Which brings me to the one guy on Raya that I was like, oh, wow, this could maybe work. So I'm on Raya and I'm swiping. And I get to a profile and it's literally just a bunch of stock photos of IKEA furniture. Yeah, like chairs, tables, desks, a couch. And the last photo is of him. But like the first 15 are just literal stock photos. And I'm like clicking through laughing. Immediately, he didn't even have to put his real face in there. If he would have just put the furniture, I would have liked it and been like, well, now I'm curious. Like the reverse catfish would have baited and hooked me. Well, it did actually, because I liked it. We ended up matching or connecting or whatever. It obviously didn't go anywhere. The moral of the story is it worked. Like had it been a profile of just him and like, I don't know, him doing what he does for his career, because I can't say too much. If it would have just been a bunch of, corny photos, him in front of a private jet and on a yacht, like I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it. It was refreshing to see someone with like a sense of humor that was kind of playing towards this little catfish vibe. So it honestly inspired me to change my profile photos. And I changed my profile photos to a bunch of pictures of my dogs. I mean, nothing of me being an astronaut, but it's just like, I switched up it a little bit because I feel like it gets so stale and sterile on social media these days, especially on these dating apps. Like, how many photos can I really show you of my ass? Like, I think you get it. I'm 5'10" and I got an ass on me. You know what I mean? It's like, I got to show you something else. So I started adding photos of me riding bikes at the beach. There's a photo of me with my grills in and I'm fishing and I have like a fish hanging next to my head. So I get this idea of the reverse catfish. And honestly, I'm kind of into it. Like I'm into leading with personality instead of just the physical. Is it working for me? I don't know. I don't know. And to be honest, I need to look up how much I'm paying for this freaking Raya membership. Because if it's more than $10, I'm out of here next month, Raya. This is your last shot. Okay, y'all. It is time to move into the third quarter of the show where we ask the chat. You guys were really responsive to this quarter. The last time I did a solo episode where we had our listeners call in, ask some questions. Some people wanted advice. Some people wanted to just share their love for me, which I always appreciate. So this week, it's no different. We are going to go to the lines, the pregame hotline, and see what the people are talking about. First caller, what's up?
Hi, I enjoy your show. I just had a quick question on Vinny being on your show from Jersey Shore. Everyone knows he was loud and proud supporting Trump at the convention and all that nonsense that went on. I don't know, politically if you like to get into this stuff, but we know that Trump does not like anyone but white men. So how does that affect you looking at someone? It's hard for me as a white female to like anyone, but I don't know how a black female, feels about that. But I do have mixed children, which are viewed as black and see themselves as black. I would never support someone who supported him. I don't know your views on this, if you're even willing to possibly broach the subject on your show. I don't know, but keep up the good work. We do love listening to you. Take care.
Well, first of all, thank you for calling in and addressing something that I honestly have been wanting to address for some time since the episode came out. First things first, I just want to make it clear that I was aware that Vinny voted for Trump. However, I wasn't aware of the extent that he made his alliance to Trump so visible. For example, I didn't know that he was, attending rallies or things of that nature. I really should have done my due diligence when it came to researching him in that regard. And it wasn't really brought to my attention until the episode went live. And I think that really shifted how I felt about the interview in hindsight. But during our conversation, there were definitely moments where his support for Trump came up. And to be honest, I don't think that he thought it reflected well on him. So in post, I give all of my guests the opportunity to have a last listen. And I did no different for Vinny. My intention is never to blindside people or, to create salacious content. Like, that's never my intention. And my hope is to always protect my guests first and foremost. So when he came back with his edits, it was a large chunk of our conversation that was removed for, whatever reason that was his desire. And so I honored that and I removed parts of the episode. But I think in doing that, I think that it really changed the nature of the conversation and it didn't really allow me to fully express like my view on the topic. So, first and foremost, I want to be very clear that I do not support Trump in any way, shape, or form. I think that his policies, his rhetoric have been super, super harmful to marginalized communities. And as a Black woman, that's just something that I don't stand for. However, I do think that it's important to have hard conversations. My platform has been and will always be rooted in having open conversations, even with people that I might not necessarily agree with or align with. But I also know that I have a responsibility to my audience to, stand on certain values and principles. And I do realize in hindsight, looking back, giving someone a platform in that regard can be misconstrued and kind of taken the wrong way. So I take full responsibility for that. But I also think too, if you go back and you look, I didn't promote the episode to the extent that I have done other episodes because of that very reason. I didn't want it to come off as me promoting his political stance, but instead it was supposed to be an opportunity just to have an open and honest conversation. And I think that episode alone really taught me a lot too about just accountability and the power that I have with my platform and who I choose to, to share it with. But yeah, I own the decision that I made and, I've definitely learned from it. And moving forward, I think that I definitely will make sure that every conversation on this podcast reflects not just like personal curiosity, but will really align with clarity in the community that I'm aiming to serve. So I appreciate you calling me out on that. I'm okay with being held accountable, even if it means I have to own up to my mistakes. But I'm quick to say I'm sorry. You don't have to worry about that. So I apologize if people were offended. And I definitely think moving forward, I will be approaching my guest list with a little more, research before they sit on a couch across from me. Let's go to our next caller. I believe her name is Lexi.
Hi. This message is for the girlies that are younger, emerging into adulthood, late teens, early 20s, hell, I'm in my 30s. Please take the time to really, really, really intentionally unlearn your environment and the people in it as you find yourself. There are things that prevented me from finding out who I was and what I liked and who I liked and the dreams and aspirations and the things I'm good at, the strengths, the weaknesses that were inherently put in my way by not my own choosing initially. Because 80% of our learned behavior comes from when we're children and adolescents and living in our parents' environment and don't have the autonomy to choose. But I think that you guys get a head start by having the older aunties tell you to take the time to unlearn all of the things, because it's super important to know yourself authentically from your own viewpoint and your own vantage point, and not the viewpoint and vantage point from others and the ones that they've created for you. Love you all. Love you, Kayla. I'm a Kansas City girly, and we miss you here. You were so cute, and I'm so glad to see all your successes and things that you're living out your dreams in and aspirations, and I'm just really happy for you. All the best.
Wow. Oh, so sweet. Well, Lexi, thank you so much. First of all, Casey, stand up. Woo woo. I'm Michelle Barbecue Girl. But wow, I couldn't agree with you more about unlearning your environment. That was so good. I think that is a huge part of growing up and truly learning about yourself. I think instantly it made me think about something that I learned in therapy that really changed everything for me. It's probably one of my first standout memories from therapy, or one of my first standout lessons in therapy. We were talking about love and the dynamic of love and where I think I learned how to love. And my therapist asked me, tell me your earliest memory of either your parents getting along and then also of your parents not getting along. So, you share the happy, lovey-dovey memories. And then I shared with her one of the first arguments that I vividly remember my parents having. I'm standing in the doorway with my mom, and my stepdad is in the garage. I don't know what they're arguing about, but they're yelling. And my mom is throwing my stepdad's things into the garage. I just remember change falling on the floor and clothes being thrown. And I could remember it so vividly. You can remember that feeling. You can remember the tension. You can remember that feeling in your gut of just unease. And I finished, telling this story to my therapist, and she looks at me and she's like, yeah, and that's how you learn to love. And the parallel that she was drawing was basically how in relationships, sometimes how I tend to fight, or at least how I used to fight in relationships, which wasn't always that extreme. I'm not, throwing my man's clothes out all the time. But, after years of conditioning, you think that, this is how you are supposed to love. When you love someone, you yell. And when you love someone, things can get really spicy and really heated. And that's okay, because that's just how love is. When in reality, that's not the healthiest way to communicate. But when that is something that's presented to you, you start to believe that that's how things are. So outside of relationships, I feel like that translates really well into what you're saying too, is a lot of things that we learn in this life are just learned behaviors. And it's not even because it's a reflection of who we are as people. It's just that's what you were taught. And now you think that you have to regurgitate that in every aspect of your life. And that's who you are at the core of your being. But in reality, you got to do the work. You need to figure out what it is that you really are, who you really are. So I completely agree with you on that. I think for a really long time, I really definitely thought that fighting hard was equivalent to loving hard. And I had to learn the hard way that that's not necessarily the case, and that there are so many different variations and versions of love and communication that are so much healthier and calmer and safer and don't have to always feel like that. But without doing the work, I wouldn't have learned or even realized, or, without going to therapy, I wouldn't have even realized that that was learned behavior, right? I'm capable of giving and receiving love in a much peaceful manner than what I had maybe seen, growing up as a child. So I completely agree with you. I think when we talk about unlearning our environments, this is definitely what we mean. It's asking yourself questions like, where did I learn this? Who taught me that this was okay? And does this belief actually belong to me? Or was it handed down to me out of someone else's pain? Or maybe even their own upbringing. You know what I mean? We give our parents so much shit, but it's this is their first time being a mom too. This is their first time being a dad too. They learned this behavior from someone else too. You know what I mean? So asking yourself those questions can definitely help. I completely agree with you, sister, as the resident auntie. If the young girls are listening, I agree. Learn new things about yourself. Ask yourself, the whys. Why do I feel this way? Why do I like this? Why do I dislike that? Because life becomes so much clearer when you do. And I think it becomes a lot less performative too. Like you can start living for yourself instead of for others. And you will become so much more at peace and at home in your own body and your own thoughts when you start doing things that just make sense to you because it makes sense to you instead of doing things because it makes sense to other people. So completely agree. Completely agree, sister girl. Oh, this other note that I had, this is important to say too. Unlearning your environment is the first step towards real identity work. It's not easy. It can feel like detaching from your culture, your family, your friend group, but that's where true self-trust is built. So yeah, like I just said, I want to co-sign on what the sweet seasoned lady said on her call. Take the time to figure out your likes, your dislikes, your values, and that will help you free yourself from anyone else's lens. That's how you stop performing for others and start living for yourself. Period. I'm excited for this one because this is a guy caller.
Why do girls think that when you follow or like a picture on Instagram, it counts as cheating?
Yeah, it's like, what is it about a woman's body that makes you physically feel like you are stabbing my heart when you tap that heart on Instagram? What is it? What is it? Thank you for calling in, Mike. I think you are first male caller. Shout out to you for the courage. A little dramatic, might I add, but I see your point here. So let's talk about it. Why do women see liking IG pictures as cheating? I don't think that we see it as literal cheating, first of all, but I do think that it is a bit uncalled for. I think it's a little disrespectful, and oftentimes it can be really embarrassing for your partner. Because if we're just going to be real, I think that Instagram is the modern day dating website. You know what I mean? Instagram is not just Tumblr or Pinterest, right? It's not just pictures on the web that you're consuming and going by about your day. Instagram is a catalog. You like what you see. It's like kind of like QVC. You like it, you buy it. If you show enough interest, you could actually talk to it. Hello? You know what I mean? Like, we have to stop acting so naive because the reality is that everyone is so accessible these days. Instagram has made the world a million times smaller. I could talk to a man in Timbuktu today, another man in Italy tomorrow, and then I could figure out some guy that lives in my building tonight if I wanted to, all by Instagram, right? At the touch of my thumb. So first things first, we have to admit that Instagram is truly a dating website. People are sliding into DMs. We're treating it like Tinder. That's just the reality of the situation. So the reality is when you're in a relationship, I think that your digital behavior is just as important as your IRL behavior. IRL meaning in real life behavior. Okay. So if you're liking thirst traps, half naked pictures, your ex's mirror selfies at 2 a.m., that's not just a like, and you know it. You know it, Mike. I feel like the perfect example is like if you're at the pool with your girl and there's some beautiful young lady laying to your right, sunbathing in her bikini. Are you going to sit your head up, turn over to her, Mike, and say, damn, you look good in front of your girl? Are you going to do that? No, because that would be ridiculous and a little disrespectful to your lady sitting to your right. Now, granted, does she look good? For sure. Complimenting other women, is that okay? Yeah, but there's a time and a place. And in a public setting like that, it's a bit weird. If you take your girlfriend to dinner and every time a fine man walks by, she turns around, she like, papi. If she does that every time a fine man walks by, is that cheating? No. Is she out of her mind? A little bit. I think it's one thing to like, what I like to do with my partner too is like, I will point out an attractive woman to my man. Oh my gosh, babe, look at, she is stunning. Stunning. I might stop her myself. Girl, you look so good. Now, if my man turns around and says out of his mouth to her while I'm sitting there, girl, you killing that dress. You look so fly in that bikini. I might pop him in the mouth. And I don't condone abuse, but you need to watch your mouth. So no, I don't think that people think compliments is equivalent to cheating. I think that there is a time and a place. And I don't think it's about being controlling either, because men will try and flip that on. Oh my gosh, this is what Instagram is for. This is what the app is for. That's what it's intended for. But let me tell you what it's really for. You could scroll all you want. You don't even have to follow these women. You could just look at them. They'll be in your search engine. You have a fan favorite. You got a girl you really like. I don't care. But why do you got to follow her? Why do you got to like the pictures? Why do you have to go the extra mile? You can look, don't touch. Keep it moving, especially if you are in a relationship. I think digital boundaries are very, very important, especially in today's age. And a boundary, if that's a boundary that's established in a relationship, we don't follow people of the opposite sex. We don't like people's thirst traps. If that's a boundary that you've established, you have to respect it. And don't try to turn it into, I think you're cheating. That's extreme, Mike. You're dragging it. If your partner is constantly giving online attention to other women in a way that feels flirty or inappropriate, it ultimately will chip away at the trust. It is the intent and the pattern behind the action, not just the tap. So yeah, Mike, liking IG pictures is not cheating, but it can be disrespectful. And especially if it's like a reoccurring issue that your partner has already expressed as a problem. I don't get the obsession or the male urge to constantly make your partner feel unseen and disrespected. How about that, Mike? But I do think that it's worth the conversation, and you and your partner need to establish those boundaries between each other. And to be honest, there might be women out there that don't mind it. So Mike, if your partner is someone who isn't into it, maybe find yourself a girl that's, down for the tap. You know what I'm saying? But thanks for calling in, Mike. Our first male caller. Look at that. Last caller of the day.
So how do I get the old thing back? I know people pretty much say like a past is a past, but I want this thing back. We really didn't end, kind of just ghosted each other. He's about 20 years older than I am. I think he's still single. So what is a good way I can reach out to him and kind of test the waters to see if he wants to rekindle our situationship?
I just want us to start really leaning into the power of our words. And I feel like we're so quick to call things situationships. So if you are accurately describing this situationship, it means that you guys are just hooking up. Zero judgment, okay? The girlies have needs too. I get it. But I guess if you're thinking about like reaching back out, I think first of all, being honest with yourself about the nature of what it was in the past. So if it was a situationship in the past, you're reaching back out again, I think it's important for you to be clear on what your intentions are now. And what I'm hearing is that you might actually want more from this than just a situationship, right? Like you want to actually date this person with intention. So I think first things first, establish what it is that you want out of this. Also, zero shame in splitting the block. It's familiar territory. If it's just the situationship that you want and you want to just, hook up again because it's safe, then I completely get that. But if it's something that you're looking for more in, I think that it's very important to make that clear initially. I have two responses for you. If we are just looking to spin the block on some flirty summertime vibes, hit them with a simple, I came across something that reminded me of you, made me wonder how you been. Opens the door up for general conversation. You guys can catch up. Oh, let's go grab a drink. Because once again, if you're asking me to grab a drink, this is very, very unserious. You just want to get me drunk. And you're trying to do the nasty, and that's fine. But if you want something more, this was my message that I think that you could send him. Hey, Billy, I've been thinking about how we connected before. And to be honest, it's been on my mind. But I'm in a different space now and open to something more intentional. If you are too, maybe we can catch up. How adult was that? It's not too forward, but it's very clear on what your intentions are. It is a little risky because, it does put the ball in his court, right? Because now he has to decide, do I want to catch up with strings attached? But it puts you in a great position because you'll know that when he does decide to respond to this message, he knows exactly where your head and your heart is. And he gets to decide if he is willing to, play alongside those rules that you've laid out, which is intention, which is like, a key word in my dating life these days. Boy, you better come to me correct and intentional because my time is expensive. And I don't got much to waste, baby. Plan something out. So yeah, girl, shoot your shot. Shoot your shot. Protect your peace. If you're going to double back, make sure that it's not out of boredom. and make sure that it is very clear what it is that you want so that you don't get hurt in the end. I think sometimes we try to play it a little too cool. Like, ladies is players too. We're still, we're catching up to the player game. You know what I'm saying? Let the dudes, let them play in that playground. We're gonna be forthright. We're going to be emotionally mature, and we're going to come correct to the situation. And if I really, honestly, I want to know how this goes. So if you use my line, please call back and let me know. Good, bad, or indifferent, but good luck. Thanks for calling. That concludes the third quarter. We're moving very quickly into the fourth, where we discuss the game plan for the week, guys. And I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to you, because we had such a quick shift, last minute change of plan. I didn't have the opportunity to prepare a game plan for you all this week. I know you're so disappointed, devastated. I can hear the sighs happening now. But you know what that means? Go back to the previous episodes and listen to the last 8 game plans that I gave you. And if you haven't done one of them, do it this week. How about that? That's your homework. Go back to the old episodes, because also that gives me some extra clicks and views and streams. And listen to the old game plans. They're evergreen. They work every week. Okay, sister? I love y'all. I always appreciate when you push play and you join me for a couple 45, a little hour with your cocktail or your face mask. I really, really enjoy it. Something really tickles me knowing that I'm like playing in your ears right now. Okay. Not to be weird, but love you guys. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of The Pregame. I'll catch you next week.